Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful lands of Scotland. And today we've come to this area here, which is property of 1800's estate apparently. I've parked here at my own risk folks, at this little farm. I think it's called Men's of 1800's and it's just out of Montrose. And I just wanted to come and check out this old abandoned historical buildings here. I was here once before, a long time ago, and I just thought it'd be cool to come back and do a wee video and just have a look at the ruins here and the historical remains of this little farm. So cool to see. So I love the character of this old abandoned farm. It's right here on the wild coast of Scotland, next to the North Sea. And I can see there is cows in this section here, so I'm just going to be super quick. Look at this history folks. Document the farm. See, when there's cafes and stuff and cows, you never know, you have to be respectful of the farm, the land. Look at this, this has been one of the buildings. Oh, there's been a wee fireplace and stuff in here. I can see it's made from rough stone mixed with red brick. No, unless it's been repaired with the red brick at a later time. Wow folks, I love exploring little historical buildings, documenting what's left of them, and just check this out. Just think of the wild weather that this little croft puts up with on a regular basis. There's like a little house up there with a building, maybe been a worker's house at one time. Wow, check this out folks. Look, it's been an old burner of some sort right here. It's potentially been like an old, what we've seen in other places folks, it's like a lime kiln. Some farms had it like years and years ago, we're talking 1700s and stuff. And I believe this has been a lime kiln, or it's been some sort of furnace or burner. Look at the stonework here with the red brick, the way it's shaped. And then obviously that's where the heart of the furnace must have been in there. But you can actually see the stones, how they're changed and damaged from the heat that must have been in here at one time. And I believe last time I visited this site in the summer, last year, me and the channel DJ walked miles from the coast at 1800's, and we came all the way up here, probably 2 miles the coast, but, well, 1 mile probably, it's not that far, but I never looked at this building and stuff. And it's crazy often when you come back somewhere, it's like a fresh perspective. You see things you've never seen before. And I had never seen this furnace. Wow, this is a cool winter adventure today folks. It's like the sun's at a low angle in the sky. And it's a morning walk right here. Just check this out up there, look. You can see how it's been damaged from the heat. The wall's been weakened. But then further up, it's like there's been another fireplace there. Maybe years of history or layers of history. Also, that wee building we looked in a minute ago must be literally right at the other side of there. So it must have been quite a warm building. Maybe that was where the person lived that like controlled the furnace area. Yeah, check out the old lintels and stuff folks. Every year stuff like this decays more and more. That's why it's cool to come and document these things and see what's left at a certain time. Look at that old window up there. It's almost been like a loft in a barn, maybe for throwing the straw in off the back of the cart. Probably a horse-drawn cart, most likely back in those days. Yeah, you can see how the loft beams have been up at the higher height there, almost where the shadow is. There's still some remains of the beams as well. This would have been a massive farm back in the day. Compared to a modern farm, it's quite small. Yeah, look at this folks, the two wooden chutes coming out. So potentially now I believe this furnace would have been for drying the grain. And that room up there that we saw initially was most likely where there was grain. And it looks like it's come out of these wooden chutes here once it was dried. So that could be an ancient way that they used to dry grain, with an actual furnace burning coal or sticks. Or There was so much stuff used coal back in those days. Yeah, and look at this. It's like a little staircase, all covered up by the grass and stuff. You can hardly see it. Look at the old lintel beam here. It's got the cutouts for the roof bars in it. Just think how long ago all that was cut out. Most likely 1700s, maybe 1800s. Look at the old square nail. A lot of those nails were made at like a local blacksmith shop, and it was normally the apprentice's job to make the nails. That would have been when they were learning the blacksmith trade. Joiners and stuff would have come in for a supply of nails from the blacksmiths. Look at this, see, there's maybe been some sort of mill in here even. There's definitely been something mounted here. What a place. All those little windows and that, I'm not sure if it was for just airing the place out, or if literally there was kind of operational reasons for those windows. See, another thing, you can see the chutes a lot better from here. Wow, this is the kind of place I love, folks. It's just like history in the middle of the Scottish wilderness. Look, there's been metal bars on the window there at one time. Look at these old beams just hanging on in there, the last remains of the history here. Oh, look at that, it's maybe been the old Rhone piper. There's definitely a massive pipe there. And look, it's had pan tile roof. There's the remains of pan tiles right there, folks. This is the kind of history that I absolutely love seeing. It's like you never know what you're going to see, and the more you look, the more layers of the history you can almost uncover. And then look at this little window here. See, it lines up with the one in the other shed. And look, there's been something like mounted here. And then check out this stone here, it's got a square cut out. Real history once again, folks. Oh, look, this big bit of wood here, right, it's got a bolt and stuff in the end. But then if we follow it along the other side of it, look, it's got like a bracket or whatever on. That's maybe some of the remains of the farm equipment or whatever they were using within this building. Another interesting detail here, that flow of water that we can see flowing past there, you can hear it. Okay, and at one time that was powering this farm with like a water wheel. What a crazy place, folks. We'll go and take a look over here because there's more little buildings and stuff. Yeah, this shed may have had a mill because I can see a square shape. It is hard to know. But more bolts sticking out of the ground there. Could be some bolts from the old like roof trusses and stuff like that. Yeah, this is cool. I love the way that everything just degrades and the character it's got. Like these old steps, the way nature just starts taking back over. You can see scars on the walls where there may have been different parts of buildings over the years that were developed and changed to keep up with the times. And then eventually it's just been abandoned and the modern farm's been built across there. And probably with all the latest equipment, and often little farms like this that were just outdated and the sheds became too small. You can almost imagine the old farmer walking down here, all conditions, all year round. And just look, there's some remains of what looks like almost red paint right there. It's like it's had a red window frame. Maybe all the little window frames and stuff were red originally. At the top side there, it looks like it's been maybe a cart shed, or maybe even this place was still in use when they had tractors. back in the early days of tractors. You can just see there's been so many different little sheds and buildings. It's just interesting, folks. And look, there's remains of stone slab roofing. And then there's just tin as well. And I think all the different types of roofing has been used over the years in a place like this. Even with the pan tiles that we saw a minute ago. Look at this foot here, folks. I believe this might have been some old waterway under here. See that? The water no longer flows right here, but way into that tunnel I can see light at the far end, that tiny speck on the screen, and there's water flowing quick. And look at this, you just look at the size of this like stone here and stuff. Think of the manpower and the construction back in those days to do what they did. God, nowadays it's just abandoned and forgotten, and it's almost lost. That's how it's cool to video stuff like this and show what's left from these places. Farming history. So I'm guessing they must have redirected the water at one point. Yeah, because look at this, it's flowing quick here. And I love the way there's that little arch in the stone there. But what I'm thinking is there must be a secondary route further across there that rejoins that, because the water I'm seeing flowing through the hole seems to be different water. See, all this I believe has been enclosed originally. Then there's been a little shed here, but I can see like the way the stones has been added on at different times for whatever they were doing in the farm. I'll go back down this way and we'll go through the building. Yeah, this is mad, folks. It's so cool exploring this like this when you're like right in the heart of it, just uncovering the layers. Yeah, see, it shows how long it's been abandoned when these trees and stuff are just growing out the middle of it. Look at the size of these roof beams. Wow. Yeah, there's been some kind of big tank. See, look, there's the remains of what the roof would have looked like here, and it would have been a loft. So when you came in that kind of cart shed door at the top, again, it would have been a long shed, a big shed. And then look, that upper story there is like had a wee fireplace. Also, I'm seeing pan tiles sitting up there. Yeah, it's had a little bit next to the fire, look at that, it's a strange bit as well. What an interesting place, folks. I'm often just blown away by the history. I'm hoping I can get right out of here again before the cows come back up to that side of the field. Check it out here, there's been something else mounted. It's a big solid cement pillar or block, and look, this there, some sort of drive or some sort of shaft must have come through here. I suppose that's where we were seeing the water underneath, so there must have been a mill shed. Check out these windows, folks, it's like some old prison window. Look at that, madness, all corroded from the crazy coastal conditions out here. Yeah, see the size of this big wooden beam? That's obviously been part of the door mechanism at this end. These sheds are just massive and ancient, and it's been so cool today to come and have a look at this. The character of these buildings, you can see it, and it's just got that crazy abandoned vibe. And then this coastal scene in front of me is just beautiful. Skirdy Lighthouse up there on the horizon. Yeah, the water must flow all the way under this building here. This must have been sheds, maybe cart sheds or whatever they did back in those days. I love these old stone arches here. the way it curves around. And it shows the strength of those curves. Because they're still standing to this day. This must have been the old side here to this shed. And then this area here has been like renewed. The sound of that water flowing underneath my feet right now is just crazy. You can hear it right there, folks. Yeah, look, this cement wall's got the cutout, so it's been like, there's been more to it at one time. Such a crazy amount of cement along here. Crazy Scottish abandoned farm history this week, folks. It's been so cool to come and see this. Wow, look at this. Not only is there like a little stove or a burner kind of thing there, whatever that's been, but also look at this here. It's a crazy mechanism of farm history right here. Just check that out right there, folks. What even is it? It's got some big linkage there, like. And then check out that there, a big solid bit of cast. Oh, you lift up that and put something in there and then close it down. Here it's almost like a brick maker of some sort. Or it could potentially be for making bricks. Because it looks like you fill this compartment here and then you close the lid down to crush it. Potentially. And then it's got this big handle. I'm not sure if at one time that winched down to like compact it mechanically. Yeah, what an angle this is, folks. The old farm here in the foreground with the newing up there. And it just shows this is still prime agricultural territory after all these years. Check this out, folks. Just next to this abandoned farm is this incredible burial ground here. And it's actually for a family which owns the land. I believe they owns the estate in the area. And it's cool just to see the old stone carving. Look at this now. Like there's literally cows and stuff living in the middle of this. Just think they're walking all over this. Look, 1795. 1761. And then 1827. And that's when this farm buildings that we just looked at would have been in their prime. And it's cool to see that. Estates like this were thriving back in those days. I can see this doesn't even look that old. But then look, 1735. And it shows the money these Scottish estates had. A stone like this would not have been cheap. And then the stone carving all the way around it. The details with the skull and the crossbones. All the way up to, look at that up there. Crazy stone carving. Just getting destroyed, sadly, by the weather, the mad coastal conditions. That's another reason it's worth videoing it here and documenting it. I think that's the two coolest like gravestones in here. So yeah, mad history, folks. And then here's another bit of history which shows there was potentially like fishing and stuff going on in this area as well. Look at the character of that. Imagine that when it had a wee roof and stuff on it. Most likely blown away by the mad weather that you get blown in here. Check this old winch though here. This is actually an old fishing winch for drawing the boats up out of the water. Just check it out. This big chunk of cast iron tells the story of the fishing on the east coast of Scotland here in the North Sea. And even in a wild little cove like this, they were able to harbour their boat up. There's actually cement remains of a wee chimney and a cement base, so I'm not sure if they had a wee like fishing hut kind of bit here, or potentially some of these old remains of buildings was maybe put there to stop the sea eroding the coast. But it is just magic to see the landscape here, and it has been so cool to see what we've seen today. And that's what's special about these adventures. It's often like spontaneous. I just get an idea, oh, I could go and look there, and then boom, here we are, documenting history almost forgotten. And there's one more building here that I want to take a quick look at before we head. This is cool, folks. Look at this. This is the remains of one of the old carts. And it just shows you the sort of thing they were pulling around here. Look at that, the old wheels. And the old chassis. It's absolutely mad to see that, like. Look, it's got a steer and axle. Just think of the horse that pulled this thing around, probably day after day, month after month. Okay, and that horse is long gone, maybe 100 years or more, and the cart just sits here, almost forgotten and lost to nature and time, folks. And just check this out, it's almost been like a small kind of craft. Like I've said already, look how low the sun is in the sky. It creates this long shadow, which is like a YouTuber's worst nightmare. No way, look at this. This is crazy. This is almost like a video on its own, folks. Let's get in here and document this. See, this is what I love about these adventures, folks. You never know what you're about to see. And like I say, I came to like this location one time before and looked around at the farm and the coast there, but I've never ever seen this on the channel. So this is some cool, brand new exclusive location. And that's just what I love. It's almost just crazy to me that all this is just out here. Look at the character of that right there. Think of the person that might have been putting sticks on that fire at one time. This must have been a bedroom. They must have had a small bed here. Look at the shape of the wall. It's like they've cut it out so they had the extra space there to fit a bed in. It's been a little single story. Probably a cattleman's house or a farm worker's house. And it's in really good condition, apart from the fact it's empty and abandoned. And then look at this, this is their sitting room. The cool thing is there's remains of the paint which they had on the walls. Look, it's been yellow. I love the shape of the old plaster work in these buildings. Look at this here, it curves. And that whole corner there is curved. You see the plaster with the wooden laths? And that's what it used to be. They would have the wooden laths and then they would just paste on the plaster back in those days. Check out the old door frames even. Like everything just looks so cool back in those days. And then there's one of those old cast iron fireplaces, which we've seen in a lot of old like farm buildings that we've explored. That used to be one of the most common fireplaces in a lot of houses. Look at the old window, just looking out on the wild field environment out there. Cows and stuff still roam about in those fields. Look at this, the old shutters. I'm going to put the torch on here because these shutters are actually blue. Look, the original blue paint's right there. Wow. And then on the outside, they've got that brown colour. And then also the walls in this room's been painted yellow. Just think what items might have been stored in here. Yeah, each shelf, it's a different shape. They're not just plain straight shelves. It's almost like they've used some wood that they had left over from an old sideboard or whatever. Yeah, this house would have been like 1800s. It's been abandoned for so long. That's what I love about these adventures too. It's like stepping back in time. And since I came into this building, it's like I'm in the 1800s and just imagining the people in here at that time. When you see the roof like this, you can tell it's worth coming in to document the history. Because it's going to be like gone. Probably within the next couple of years. This roof could come down and like wipe out that. Look at the design on that cast iron fire. Some of these country houses, they would heat the water from the fire But in a house this old, it looks like that was just literally heating the room. No way, look how corroded the handle is right there. And the old Bakelite light switch. With a house like this, you can see how the electricity was fitted at a later time. So the wires were just run on the face of the wall instead of having them in behind. Here's the original front door. Yeah, so this room here's had another door going through that way. Oh, that's been like a cupboard. Yeah, it's like this wall's been put in at a later time. In the middle. So that must have been a bedroom as well right there. Oh, and look, this has been their kitchen at this end. Wow, this is so cool, folks. I'm totally loving this house right here. The details and the small little historical things like this fireplace. And like this window here even. Look at the wee latch right there. The sash windows. And in this fireplace, I mind my granny had a fireplace similar to this in one of her houses. It's mad just to see the different decay. The places I go, you sometimes see these fires when they've still got all the fronts on it. But with a one like this, it looks like it may have been taken off. Maybe reused on somebody else's fire. Look at the remains of the hearth right there. Stuff like this is just getting buried. The more stuff that just falls down over it, you can hardly see the hearth. An interesting detail, it looks like there's been an older fire in there at an earlier time, and then this one's maybe been put in after. Yeah, look, he looked at this window here and that's what the view was. That would have been the main farm over there. From the same era as this. It's cool to see like the farm and then you get an idea. This would have been the farmhouse most likely. And you get an idea of this sort of place they lived. Kind of thriving farm. Often they would have electricity when the common folk didn't. And that's what you would get at farms. Wow, this has been like shelves and stuff. Maybe a larder. I think this is where they would have kept some of their like butter or cheese and stuff like that. It was often a cool room to keep all that sort of stuff. Look at the stone slab. See, that shows that it's been a stone slab roofed house. And that's why a lot of the time these roofs fall down. The weight of that stones, once it gets to a certain level, kind of rot, it just crumbles down in. Like that's been the wash house, because there's an old boiler in that corner with a chimney. And a lot of houses had that back in the day. And that was where they would have done the washing. And I can see one of those big sinks there, the big white old sinks. And then this door frame, look, it's been green. And then the big old bathtub. So this must have been like an in the house bathroom, which a lot of the houses had like outdoor toilets and stuff back then. So maybe they had upgraded it and kind of updated the house as the years went on. An interesting thing, it's almost like this whole bit here has been added on at a later time, because you can see it's made of the wood. This may have been actually one of the house doors originally, and then that other wall over there would have been the it would have been outside between here and there with no other rooms. Look at this detail of the history that I've just noticed here, folks. On here would have sat a water tank for the hot water, and look at this. There's the pipe where it led in behind the fire, and that fire would have actually heated the water for the house in that tank. So that's a cool little detail of the history I just about missed. That big metal ring there is actually the old base for the water tank. And this part of the house here would have had a slate roof. But maybe the slate roof was put on at a later time, because I think originally it would have had the stone slab roof. Wow, back into this room. This room here's just got character, folks. Check that out, eh? I love just exploring new things and documenting places I've never seen before in a video, and it just blows my mind that every week I just keep finding so much history and places like this. It's just so cool to see. Look, there's been an animal digging under the floor there. All this earth's been dragged out. Some sort of creature. And then this here must have been the old farm buildings. Imagine back in the day, the cows mooing, the noise of all the animals moving about, the hustle and bustle of farm life. Yeah, so the cows still come in here probably to get some shelter. This is a madness, folks. I'm going down here to have a look. Oh, look at the old door. See, this is what I love. Like, even just documenting a wee bit of a shed less, because I reckon in a couple of years a lot of this is going to blow down and fall down. A lot of these old buildings was like just made from the rough stone that was available in the area that were built, and you can see that with these buildings here. Yeah, I'm just imagining like the farm in the 1800's and what these like rooms would have looked like. Imagine that wall when it was complete and painted. It looks like this whole place was whitewashed inside. Most likely this roof was put on maybe in the 60s or 70s. Kind by the looks of what I'm seeing. But these buildings obviously still are used, because you see how the cows have been going in there for shelter and stuff. So that's how we always come with the greatest respect. So like the landowner and the house owners and stuff, we really just want to document more Scottish history, then we're on our way. So then if these places do fall down, again, you can see how they looked at a certain time in history, and it's cool for the next generation to see how these buildings at one time stood here in this wild Scottish landscape. The tide's almost fully in, and I can just see like mad waves ripping up over the stones. Whoa, there's a huge wave right now, right there. Yeah, some of the parts of coast here you don't get mad waves because it's so rocky, it breaks the water's force. So to see that, it's so cool. The noise of that as well in the distance, I can hear it roaring. The wild North Sea, folks. And look, that building there has had a loft as well originally with a higher up bit. They always made use of their space. And I can see big ships as well out there. A lot of these ships sit out in this part of the sea because Montrose harbour's literally just round the corner for Skardiness Lighthouse. Check out the mud here, folks, it's crazy. I'm just following this cow path back out here. That's been a fun adventure. We've seen so much. We've documented corners of this place that we had never seen before. And it was cool that I wore the wellies so I could just have a look at everything without getting wet feet. There's one more look at that barner kind of bit, which I believe they may have been drying the grain with. No, unless there was other operations going on here back in those days. If anybody knows, get in the comments. But from what I've seen here today, that's what I believe they were doing, drying grain. Just because the way those chutes come out into that other building there, there's only a certain few things would be able to come down a chute like that. I imagine it must have been grain. It's just unusual how this side of that shed's just like a house though, with a wee fireplace and that. Because that must be the room where they were putting the grain down the chutes. It's just so much debris, it's hard to tell. It's hard to see. It looks like this building here though has been lined at one time with the wood. Like a lot of houses and structures back in those days. That was for insulation. No way, look, there's actually a stone section leading across that road, so I'm not sure what that is. Maybe just an old drain. Anyway folks, that's me just a bit back at my car. That's been a fun adventure, but I'm going to end it here. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next one.